Welcome to a new episode of Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. Today, we are joined by National Urban League President and CEO Marc Morial. Prior to his current position, Mr. Morial served as the mayor of New Orleans, as well as the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Today, Mr. Morial continues to serve as a leading voice on the national stage in the battle for jobs, education, housing, health, voting rights, and equity. He is also the host of the weekly syndicated television show, America's Black Forum. We now welcome Mr. Morial to this live stream of Listen In with KNN. Here is your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. We bring you the biggest guests, great analysis, and the hottest sports stories in the nation's capital and beyond. And we bring it to you live. Welcome to this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. Welcome into a brand new edition of Listen In with KNN, presented by Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. With me, your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. So delighted, y'all, to be here with you on this wonderful Thursday. We have so much happening in NFL free agency, March Madness kicking off, and what a day it's already been, especially for us folks here in the DMV area. So keeping up with all of that. And of course, I want to thank all of you who joined me Tuesday to listen into my special guest, Butch Lee, who was a champion at all levels, on the high school level, on the collegiate level at Marquette University, and as a champion with the Los Angeles Lakers. And we're continuing to bring the heavy hitters to you all, as today I am so excited to be joined by Marc Morial, the president and CEO of the National Urban League, which is the nation's largest historic civil rights and urban advocacy organization. So we're talking all things civil rights, politics, sports. Bring your questions, bring your comments, bring the fun. We're going to get it all in. So again, now it's my pleasure and delight to welcome Marc live to the show with me. Let's get him on now.
Hey, Kelsey, it's good to be with you. Happy Thursday to you.
Yes.
And congratulations to you on all of your success as a great sports broadcast journalist. I'm just glad to be with you today. You're in D.C., I'm in New York.
There we go.
Have fun for 30 minutes.
So excited to have you. Thank you so much for taking time out your busy schedule. Again, there's been lots happening. So Marc, we truly appreciate you. As you said, we're both on the East Coast, so lots happening right now on the East Coast, Marc. But first off, I want to do a wellness check with you, Marc. How are you feeling? How are you doing? You're looking great. We see the nice office and the nice view of New York behind you. How is everything?
I'm hanging in there. You know, it's been a busy, really 30 to 40 days. I've traveled a lot. I just got back from the 11-day trip, 4 cities. I feel like I've been traveling almost continuously since early February. So it's been demanding, but I'm trying to take care of myself, keep my workouts in, drink a lot of water, try to get some sleep, and just keep a healthy outlook, because it's better to be busy and engaged and focused. And, we live in a time of tremendous challenge in the country, but underneath every challenge is a tremendous amount of opportunity to make a difference and do good.
I love that. We need more positivity like that, Marc, as you said, more opportunity to do good. That's what it's all about. And, talking about doing good, your family seems to be doing good. I know your beautiful wife is here in Washington, D.C., Miss Michelle Miller. New book, brand new book
New
out.
book, a beautiful book, a powerful book. I'm very proud of her and her success and her telling of her story. The book is all about her 30 years, but it's about her childhood. It's about how she grew up in Los Angeles. And I really, really encourage everyone to read the book. Pick up the book, Michelle Miller, Becoming. And it is, I think, Belonging. I get this title wrong.
You got it right. Look, you got it right. Happy home,
But
Marc.
the most important thing, I think, writing a book is a lot of work. I wrote a book. My mom wrote a book. Now Michelle's written a book. It takes a tremendous amount of work to write a book, but we're at a time of authenticity. We're a time of people telling their story. Right. We're a time when people are much more open to sharing their pain, sharing their hopes, sharing their aspirations, and sharing their setbacks. And I think for all of this, the message out there is persistence. The message out there is continue to work, continue to fight, and be yourself and be authentic.
I love that. Be yourself and be authentic. And I think the world is more embracing, Marc, of us being authentic. It wasn't always that people could be comfortable. And I love what you said about, being open about our stories. I think being vulnerable can be so hard, especially, for me, I grew up to be just a strong Black woman, so to be vulnerable is not the easiest thing. But I think when you are that and you are transparent, I think more people actually come to you. More people want to be part of that story because I think more people can relate. So as we're talking about, check out Michelle Miller's new book, Belonging, A Daughter's Search for Identity Through Love and Loss. Lots of folks here in DC are going out to support it. Shout out to my fellow members of the Washington Association of Black Journalists, DC Public Libraries. I know that is going to be a wonderful event. And I'm only keeping you 30 minutes, Marc, because I know you're going to
No, and I appreciate you promoting Michelle's book. And
of course.
I guarantee if you read it, you'll like it. It's a great story. And thank you so much for spotlighting and highlighting the book because, she's at the library this evening for a great big book celebration. And wish I was there, but I'm here holding down the fort.
So what's great about a partnership, you guys both get to do your dynamic skills in different areas. And I know she's feeling the love all the way here in DC from you in New York. And you talked about it. You said writing a book isn't easy. You are a published author. You actually wrote a leadership book, right? Gumbo Coalition, 10 leadership lessons that help you inspire, united, and achieve. It's been widely acclaimed. So let's talk about that process though. Like you said, Marc, people will tell me to write a book and I was like, I just don't have the time to really sit down thoughts to paper. So talk about that process for you.
The process was I was challenged. I met a publisher, in fact, a Black woman who works for HarperCollins, and she challenged me and said, you should write a book. I said, let's go have a cup of coffee. And her support, my publisher, Lavelle Levette, guiding me through the process, getting me the support and the help I need, helping me learn and understand what to do was so important to doing this. And it's a process that's intimidating.
Right.
And it takes time and it takes energy and it takes effort and it takes help. And I want to underscore that. I had people helping me do it. At the end of the day, the motivation was my just desire to want to pay it forward. With leadership lessons, the same way so many people took me under their wing, gave me words of encouragement, opened the door for me here or there, or even sometimes as I observed people in leadership roles and in teamwork roles, that is really what motivated me to try to say to the next generation, because, when you are early in your career, you can be vulnerable, you can be uncertain. Sometimes you can also have a great deal of energy and confidence. But what do you look to? What role models do you look to? What not only role models, but situational role models. You're in a tough situation. You're in a good situation. How do you navigate those situations? So my book is about leadership. I talk about persistence, networking, innovation. I talk about taking on the new task with a fast start. And my stories are all real stories. This is not a textbook. These are real stories from my time as a lawyer, my time as a child, my time as a teenager, my time as mayor of New Orleans, my time as a state senator, my time as president and CEO of the National Urban League. All of the roles I've had an opportunity to play, and I'm indebted to all of the people that helped me, supported me, were part of the teams that made me who I am.
I love that. You talked about situational leaders, and I love that you put that title on it. So tell me, Marc, growing up, New Orleans, who were some of those situational leaders for you that you inspired to be?
Coaches.
Yeah.
My first love was sports. My
Yeah.
first love was rec league sports.
Yeah.
So my coaches, we imagined we were the Green Bay Packers and the Baltimore Ravens. We imagined that we were the New Orleans Saints. And,
Right.
we were on the playground, and all of the coaches were part-time coaches. Many of them were Postal Service employees who would come to the park after they got off to work with us. And they were role models. They were second fathers. They were, big brothers. They were enforcers. They were storytellers. They were teachers. Yeah. They were role models. And then also, as I got older and got an interest in law as a profession, my father was a lawyer, but his friends who were lawyers became role models. And some of the younger lawyers who I came into contact with, they became role models, and young elected officials. And I saw in them what I wanted to do. I saw in them impact. I saw in them courage. So, situational, but, let me tell you about situational leadership. You're a sports person. We love sports.
Right.
Situational leadership is exactly what you see in sports every day. It's 3rd and 10.
Right.
3rd and 5. The game is on the line, or it's early in the game. Do you take a risk? Do you play it safe? Do you go to your money play?
Yeah.
Does everyone say you got to make an extra effort on this play? So you see situational leadership in baseball, football, basketball. It's when a reliever comes in baseball and the team it's in a jam. The bases are loaded. The winning run is on third base, and you got to get 2 outs to retire the side and keep the lead. Situational leadership is rising to that occasion, meeting that moment. So you see it in sports, you see it in life, you see it in business, you see it in politics, and understanding situational leadership, and that you can. Some people's nerve and determination is born. Yes, some people it takes time to earn it and make it.
Right.
And learn it and earn it and make it. So I really believe in situational leadership. I believe in utilization of judgment. I believe in speaking to others for counsel and advice, wisdom and opportunity. No person is an island. No person is great by themselves. No person can accomplish significant things by themselves. It's all as a result of collaboration, cooperation, teamwork, and all of those things.
Yeah, collaboration, teamwork, all of those things. And as we talk about situational leadership, what I'm also hearing from you, Marc, is making sure that you're surrounding yourself, sounds like from the right people, right? Making sure that your circle is strong, that your support system is strong. So I think so many of us, point to our village, right? Helping to raise us, right? It's not just mom and dad. It's so many others. It might be the neighbor next door, the teacher, as you mentioned, the coach for so many of us that played sports growing up. And I think that's a perfect parallel, to sports, because, one of those people right now that a lot of people are talking about, I'll just say it, is Ja Morant, right? And people are talking about, it's a great example sometimes of, people that you surround yourself by, just relating that to a real life example. But, through life, we do have choices, right? And we have choices about who we bring along with us and who, we bring to anything that we do in life. And sometimes life is cutting people off. Sometimes it's adding new people on. So,
sometimes it's cutting people off. You're absolutely right. Sometimes it's distancing yourself. Sometimes it's sensing that there's danger or inefficiency in a relationship and keeping your distance from that relationship. I've got a whole chapter in my book on networking and the intentionality. And I talk about 3 types of friends, right? They're those intimate, close friends that you have. They're rare. And they know your vulnerabilities. They know your hopes.
Right.
And then there's business, there's associates, and people you come into contact with. They are people that you may work with, you may do projects with, but you don't know everything about them personally, and you don't have a desire or a need to know everything about them personally, or everything about their life, or everything about their careers. And then there's associates. These are people who you meet, you learn, and you sometimes have a respect by reputation, by how they carry themselves, by what they do. We can't see friendships and relationships as either good buds, tight, my peeps, or an enemy. And
Right.
expect that because I know somebody, they owe me some level of loyalty, right?
Yeah, that's
you
real.
always have to recognize, no, they owe you respect.
Right.
Because human beings owe each other respect. But don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
As they say, don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted. Words well said from Marc Morial. Marc, again, as we just talk about life, I want to put this into perspective as we're talking about leadership. You've been in so many great positions where you have been a leader. We look at your role now, right, with the National Urban League. Look at what you and your late father were able to do, making history, right, as the first African-American father-son mayors in the United States. That's not easy, right? You're learning to be a leader. I'm sure you're learning on the job, especially in politics, right? You're trying to make everybody happy, Marc. So talk about, how leadership kind of evolves with all the different roles that you had and how that you've been able to take pieces from each role to make you the man that you are today.
I think people have to want to lead. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to be able to lead, you have to know how to follow or be a good team player.
Yeah.
Because you may wear multiple hats. Like, for example, in your family situation, you may not be the leader.
Right.
You may be the youngest. You may be the person who, family dynamics are interesting.
Right.
But in your work or career, you may be the leader.
Right.
Or you may be a person who plays a leadership role in the volunteer activities in your life. You're president of an association or of a club. But in the workspace, you're not necessarily in a leadership position. We have to wear multiple hats depending on the role we play.
Right.
And understanding and learning how to play all those roles is essential, I believe, to being a good leader.
Being a good leader. Part of being a good leader, I think one of my favorite words, Marc, in life is knowing how to pivot, knowing how to shift. And, I can't have you on the show without getting you into some sports talk, Marc. And I know you're a big sports enthusiast. And I want to talk about a leadership role that your New Orleans Saints recently handed over to Derek Carr. I want to get your thoughts on that, especially because I know New Orleans is so special to you.
I am excited and hope he's the guy that can take the New Orleans Saints to the promised land. But I'm asking, I need clarity from management coaches as to what about Jameis Winston?
That's the question. I was going to follow up with that.
Jameis was brought in to bring us to the promised land. Yeah. He had some injuries. I don't know the extent of those injuries. And all of a sudden, he hardly played this year, right? After injuring himself the previous year, after having several good outings for the Saints, an enormously talented person. Jameis Winston, right? Heisman Trophy winner, right?
Yeah, one at the highest level, right?
And one hell of a gun. What happened to Jameis? Jameis, I read in the New Orleans paper that he's going to stay with the Saints. So I guess he said, I'll stay in a backup or a relief role. Maybe he's decided that for the remainder of his career, that's the role he's going to play. But look, I hope Derek Carr can bring us to the promised land. I hope he can bring the old Drew Brees fire back to the offense. And the best thing I heard was that Michael Thomas may be back. But any great quarterback needs a great defense.
You do. You do in football.
Defense. And that's what plagued him in Las Vegas.
Right.
He didn't have a good defense, so they couldn't stop anybody. So you could put 20 points on the board. But if the other team puts 25, you're done. If you put 30 and they put 35, you're done. I mean, it's very much an example that football is team. It takes a good defense and a good offense to win. But I'm looking forward to Saints. Saints under Sean Payton. He was a great innovator,
right?
A great coach. Brought us great success, great victories, and I'm waiting to see Dennis Allen meet the moment, rise to the occasion, give us Saints football. New Orleanians like excitement.
Oh, we can tell.
We want an exciting team.
Yes.
We want a team that throws deep. Yes. We want a team that blitzes. So we shall see. I mean, it's interesting to see. Now I see Aaron Rodgers looking at coming to the New York Jets. And, Aaron, one of the great talents in NFL history. But the question at 8 or 9 is, what do you have left in your tank?
Right. What's left?
You still really have it. So for the Jets, it's great, but it's also a risk. I remember when the Jets signed Brett Favre late in his career. So, man, one good season, and then maybe not so good after that. I mean, I've always said, if I were putting together a team from scratch, Aaron Rodgers might be number one on my list, because when he's at the top of his game,
right? When he's good, he's good.
When he's good, he's good. Now, he's been plagued by some inconsistencies, but when he's good, he's good. So I'd go with him, or I might have to take my man from the Baltimore Ravens, your team.
Lamar Jackson. There's still a question mark.
I would take
still
Lamar
out there
because I think Lamar is, a prototype great quarterback, for 21st century football. He'll give a defense fits. He'll create loads of confusion, difficult matchups, and he can also talk about a situational player. Right?
Going back to that situational leadership that you were talking about. Player. And, I think right now, actually, Lamar's situational leadership is probably going to be tested. He's going through adversity, right now, Mark. We hear Baltimore places the non-exclusive franchise tag. Then all of a sudden, something that we really haven't seen before, teams already basically saying, hey, we're not even going to be in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. And so once again, here's Lamar in a situational leadership position where he has no agent, right? He's trying to get it done with his mother and his own team. And folks are saying,
oh my goodness,
if that's good or bad. And you know the NFL, you're close to them. You've done stuff with the diversity committee. So Lamar's in a unique situation as a situational leader. We know what he can do on the football situational, but now contract wise, what is he going to be able to do situational? And that's the big question. Talented quarterback, but right now it seems like no team is willing to take a bite.
That's interesting because, I think one thing about a Lamar's going to sell tickets.
Oh, for sure. He's must-watch TV.
Lamar's going to create excitement for your team.
Right.
He's also the kind of guy who's going to create locker room buzz.
Right.
Part of football is part of all sports is the other team wants people who say, "Oh, he's going to give us a chance to win." Right. He's going to give us a chance to compete. So, I'd be surprised unless there's something about the injuries he suffered that is causing caution, but there should be nothing about his incredible ability, because I've watched him and he's improved his passing game significantly, since he's been in the league. I'm pulling for the brother to really, really do well. And, Baltimore doesn't want him. Somebody should grab him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's young. He's talented. He's a unanimous MVP. Lamar literally has every check on the box. And as you mentioned, some people have brought up the injuries, but still a dynamic quarterback. And you see how he's changed this Baltimore Ravens team. So I think still lots of questions surrounding him. And folks are trying to figure out why Lamar's name isn't coming off the board. It seems like we're hearing every other quarterback, Mark, right? We hear Jimmy G to Las Vegas. And I mean, it seems like Taylor Heineke, the backup quarterback in Washington, now getting a chance in Atlanta. We bring Jacoby Brissett here to Washington, but again, no Lamar Jackson name. So I think the NFL world is just trying to continue to figure out what's going to be next for Lamar and if he'll end up back in Baltimore.
Yeah, we'll have to stay tuned, right? And I know, Kelsey, you know what the deal is before.
I'll have my ear to the ground. So stay tuned. And that's what we want people to do. Just going back to New Orleans Saints really quickly. You obviously know New Orleans well. You were mayor there from 1994 to 2002. I have family from New Orleans. You have family in New Orleans. But for folks outside of New Orleans, let's talk about Saints culture. When people see the hoodad and they see the gold and the black and the umbrellas, like, why is football so special to New Orleans? Why must the Saints team be good, Mark?
It's a lot of reasons. The Saints, I remember when the Saints were born.
Yeah.
I remember attending the first game as an 8 or 9 year old.
Yeah.
And New Orleans fought for really a decade or so to get professional football.
Right.
And in the 1960s, there was a group of people who worked to get professional football. And one of the barriers to professional football was segregation. And New Orleans had a city ordinance, which required seating in stadiums and facilities to be segregated. And the National Football League was not going to put a team in a city with segregated seating. And that's why the football was so late, relatively speaking, to come to places like New Orleans and Atlanta and even Dallas all in the 1960s. But Saints culture represents the grit and the style of the city. The grit, style, but also the soul and the rhythm of the city.
Right.
That's why people come to the games. They come dressed up. They come to party.
Right.
They come to express themselves. It's a special experience to go to a game in a dome. There's nothing like it. I've been to NFL games all over the country.
Right.
And you got great fan bases. Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Cincinnati, great fan bases, right? But there's no game like a Saints game.
It's true.
Never has been
a
game like a Saints game.
Right.
And it's football country. The South is much more football country than it is basketball country, baseball country. And the Saints mirrored the rise and fall of the city. For 20 years, the team didn't have a winning season.
Right.
And then when ownership shifted, we became competitive. And, of course, everyone knows the history of 2010. We won a Super Bowl. It was unlikely in the 44th year of the existence of the team. And since then, we pretty much had a competitive team, mostly since the 90s, right? We've been competitive. We had a few off years. And then New Orleans was also embraced and adopted by America as America's team post-Katrina.
Right.
And we had to fight for football to return to New Orleans. There was some that wanted to move the team to San Antonio.
Right.
And there were a group of us that worked with Commissioner Tagliabue at the time. And I always give Paul Tagliabue great credit. I remember him calling me after Katrina and saying, there's people who want to move the team. I said, no, Paul, you can't let that happen. He says, it's exactly why I'm calling you, because I need your help to stop it. Right. And so the teams, and now we have the Pelicans, right? And the Pelicans are part of special to me too, since as mayor, we relocated the team from Charlotte to New Orleans, built the Smoothie King, what is now the Smoothie King Arena.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for an NBA championship. I'm waiting, praying, I'm hoping. If we got a healthy Zion, a healthy McCollum, and a healthy Ingram playing together, we can play with anybody. Watch out.
Watch out for the Pelicans.
Watch out, man. Watch out, Boston. You guys better watch out. Step aside. We're coming at you.
Health is wealth in the NBA. And of course, injuries just hurt. Zion, I think, is going to be a special key piece. But I do think New Orleans is building something with the Pelicans. Look at last season, Mark, when you look at that Pelicans team and the grit and grind that they showed. And we have a quick question for you, Mark, from Cantrell Conley. She wants to know, what's the story behind the colors of the team?
Black and gold. Black and old gold. The Saints were born on November 1st, 1966. And on the Christian calendar, the Catholic calendar, November 1st is All Saints Day.
Yes.
I think the black and the gold was trying to mirror the look of the Saints, but the Saints uniforms, in some ways, were modeled off of the uniforms of the Dallas Cowboys. If you think about the Saints uniform, except instead of silver, we had gold.
Right.
Instead of blue, we had black. But if you had the fleur-de-lis on the helmet instead of the star, because there was someone who worked for the Saints in the early days who had been on the Cowboys staff, I believe. Yeah. And so it's interesting because the city's colors are not black and gold. The city's colors are actually red, white, and blue, matching the colors of the French flag. And then, of course, we also embrace purple, green, and gold, which are Mardi Gras colors. But interestingly, none of the pro teams use those colors, but LSU does. So I also think there was an idea to make the colors distinct from any other color scheme in football at that time. No one was using really old gold. You had a lot of yellow gold. You didn't have a lot of black jerseys back in those days. So I think, I don't know if there was anything more specific than that. But the name and the birth of the team and the story behind the team remain, one of America's great sports stars. I don't know if people know the story behind the team was that the National Football League needed an exemption from the antitrust laws in order to be able to merge with the AFL. And Pete Rozelle, when he went down to Congress, encountered one New Orleans Congressman, Hale Boggs, and two Louisiana Senator Russell B. Long. And they said, we want a team for New Orleans. And the commissioner said, we can't give you a team. We can't make it. And they said, well, come see me later about your bill. And he came back and he said, we can't give you a team. He said, come see us later.
That's how you negotiate.
So Long and Boggs, to a great extent, really utilized their power to say to the National Football League, we need a team in New Orleans. And New Orleans had been competing for a team. In fact, New Orleans had an opportunity in the early 60s to get an AFL team. But the city fathers at the time, the group promoting professional football, said, we want NFL. We don't want the AFL. So it's an interesting story. My father was involved because he brought the lawsuit that struck down the ordinance which required separate seating, which was a prerequisite to the team coming to the city. So there's an interesting history behind many of these teams, but the Saints had a history of Louisiana's use of its political power.
As it should. And look at the Saints' success today and just the fan base that they've grown. And Marc, just following up on that question, I do really quickly want to ask you, how proud does it make you, serving as a state senator for Louisiana, former mayor of New Orleans, to see that New Orleans has really become a destination city? When we think about Super Bowl, Final Four, everybody wants to come to New Orleans. Essence Fest. They know they're going to sell tickets and that everyone wants to come down. New Orleans has really been one of the crown jewel cities. So for you, how proud does that make you? Especially, we talked about Katrina. Post Katrina, New Orleans is still a place that everyone pretty much is marking, bachelorette parties. Everybody wants to do everything, Marc, in New Orleans. It has to make the people of New Orleans proud, just looking at the revenue, one, that comes in from that. But two, just to know, it's a place that people truly do want to go and know that they can have successful events at.
I'll say this. New Orleans did something smart in the 1960s. It decided to build the Louisiana Superdome. And at the time, the Superdome was a vision beyond any vision for any stadium in the history of the world. Houston had built the Astrodome. The governor of Louisiana went to Houston and said, I want a stadium big enough to put the Astrodome inside. And the Superdome was born. And then there was a debate on whether to put the stadium downtown or on the outskirts, and downtown won out. And then 10 years later, the convention center, which bears my father's name, the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center, was built down Poydras Street on the riverfront. So New Orleans invested in these mega facilities, which at the time were the largest facilities of their type. A covered stadium with air conditioning and acoustics that you could do football, basketball, concerts in. A convention center all on one level with 1 million square feet. And it led to a marriage of the city's tremendous culture with great facilities, a boon in hotels, and thus New Orleans' ability to host big events was born. And we think it's still the best city anywhere in the world to host major events. When I was mayor, we worked with the Essence owners at the time to create the Essence Fest. The Essence Fest now in its 26th or 27th year is the largest gathering for African Americans and certainly Black women anywhere in the world. The Jazz Fest, you could just count Super Bowls coming back, I believe, 25, I believe.
Exactly. Vegas and New Orleans.
And then New Orleans. So, it's about economic development. Sports and entertainment are about jobs. They're about economic development. Some people quarrel. Well, we need a different kind of economic development. We need diversified economic development in our cities. That's why, Kelsey, you and I have talked. I'm a big fan of the Washington football team, now known as the Commanders, coming back to Washington, D.C. Pulling from Mayor Bowser and any efforts, if there's a change in ownership, to put that team right back where it belongs.
Back in the city.
They do not belong in Virginia. They do not belong in Maryland. They belong in the District of Columbia. And they will thrive. Every city that's built downtown stadiums has seen a boom in economic opportunity. And you gotta, you can't displace people.
Right.
You've got to be
Very
careful
important.
about gentrification. You
Right.
need community benefit strategies.
Right.
But we built in New Orleans the arena right next to the Superdome.
Right.
And the impact it's brought us, basketball, it brings dirt shows, it brings concerts,
Everything.
a range of things. So, when we talk about sports, we have to understand for cities, it is a form of economic development, and it is a form of branding. In the same way the Final Four is going to give brand. Who had heard of Butler University beyond Indiana before they went to the Final Four? Loyola Chicago.
Exposure,
they go
right.
to the Final Four, and people are like, wow, there's a Loyola in Chicago. Yes, there's a great Loyola University in Chicago. Branding of universities, sports helps branding. And some people may say, well, maybe why is it? Well, let's deal with what is as opposed to questioning it. So sports is the same type of thing. In the United States of America, a sports team, a city with professional sports, is considered to be a first-tier city in America.
And, I love you said that sports branding aspect, kind of just tying it to March Madness. And I have to get you out of here quickly, Mark. But Furman University, we're all talking about them now because of the upset, Mark, that they pulled today against Virginia. I mean,
did Furman beat Virginia?
Furman beat Virginia, Mark. I know. So you've been busy. We've had some crazy games in March Madness. Virginia, remember, go back a couple years ago, Virginia was upset by UMBC. UMBC got to put a huge name on their program, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And now, unfortunately, Virginia, history once again repeating itself, this time getting upset by Furman. So I think that's what you're saying. Sports can bring a huge brand name to the university. And talking about sports, Mark, before I get you out of here, because you spent time in D.C., you're a Georgetown Law School graduate. All that to say, have to talk to you about Georgetown University really quickly. Who should be the new head coach, Mark? We know Patrick Ewing getting the axe after an unsuccessful year at Georgetown. He's no longer the head coach.
Patrick got the axe. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
It's unfortunate.
Patrick was at Georgetown same time I was, and he was such an incredible. He's just a great guy, and coaching is tough, recruiting is tough. I don't know, Kelsey. I'm gonna have to wait for you to get a tip.
You just need a good coach that can recruit, Mark.
The goal is you want someone who can win, but someone who, like the legendary John Thompson, knows how to build scholar athletes who are also successful men.
Yes, a leader of men.
Leader of men. That's why I love the late Coach Thompson. He was special. He put his arms on the players.
Yeah.
He knew how to win. And, he really was a pioneer in sort of this teamwork rotation in basketball. So may long live his legacy. And look, best wishes to Patrick Ewing for his next steps. A lot of pressure at Georgetown.
Not an easy job. Basketball is the sport.
You know this. And you're competing with Big East and ACC, and recruiting game is so competitive now.
Yeah.
So competitive. So
it's hard.
I don't know. What are you hearing?
We're hearing different things. So actually, this helps me transition to Howard. Some people are saying that Howard University head coach should be getting a look. So Howard, of course, I know, Mark, is near and dear to your heart. You just completed the 20th annual National Urban League Legislative Policy Conference. You guys had a chance to go to the White House, President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris. Howard University today, they had a pretty good fight in the first half against Kansas, the defending champions. They ended up losing. But Mark, what this did for HBCUs, and we saw the Howard band as well in the arena. It was huge.
It's great to see HBCUs in the tournament.
Yes.
And I think basketball is a sport that HBCUs can compete with the best.
Yeah.
I think, and we need to continue to encourage them. And if they get visibility and they get a look, and they have some resources to work with, because now you have the NIL system, which is going to impact basketball. I think that they can compete. So, and continue to compete. So, look, congratulations to Howard. Just the fact that you can hang with Kansas for a little while.
It counts.
It counts.
It counts. And think about what they're going to be able to build. And so, again, I think we're all so proud of Howard University. Mark, last time they were in the tournament back in 1992, 31-year wait. the Howard Bison faithful, the alumni, have been waiting. So again, just proud of all Howard has had to do today in the tournament. So shout out to the Bison. University of Maryland Terrapins getting the win. So shout out to the Terps. Close game, a very close game against West Virginia. But Marc, before I get you out of here, tell us what's next and what we can look forward to coming out of the National Urban League and the continued fight for civil rights and the advancement of Black America.
Kelsey, thanks so much. We're working on a whole lot of things now. So upcoming next, mark your calendars, April 18th at Morehouse College, the National Urban League will release its State of Black America report, which will focus on hate and extremism and its impact on public policy when it comes to voting, when it comes to economics, when it comes to energy, when it comes to education. So we're going to lift that up. It'll be live streamed as well. So you'll be able to participate even if you can't be there. And the whole report will be available online. Number two, later on in August of this year in Houston, in late July, we'll host our annual conference. And that's the gathering of the movement. It's the biggest civil rights gathering of the summer. It'll take place in Houston, where Sylvester Turner is mayor. Justin Robinson leads the Houston Area Urban League. And we've got a great circle of elected officials, faith leaders, activists, business leaders, labor leaders who are going to support our efforts there. Right now, we are working very hard to push voting rights. We need Congress to pass voting rights, to put a stop to this effort to suppress and gerrymander and undermine democracy. We have to stand up. We need Congress to show some courage and vote for a voting rights bill. The John Lewis bill is the one we support. The Freedom to Vote Act is the other one we support. And we're working on policing. Tyree Nichols reminded us, the numbers remind us that too many Black men, too many people are dying unnecessarily at the hands of the police. We need trust and accountability in that area. So if you want to learn more about the agenda of the National Urban League, go to NUL.org. If you want to follow me at Marc Morial and the National Urban League at Nat Urban League across all social media channels, check your dial for America's Black Forum, where I get a chance to host a weekly show talking about the best of happenings and the challenges of Black America. And if you are in a market served by Radio 1, I'm on with Ricky Smiley every single Monday talking about the state of Black America. So I want everyone, Kelsey, to be in the conversation, in the discussion, in the debate, because it'll lead to action. And I'm so proud of you, your work, your history as a sports journalist. And I'm ready to come back whenever you want.
I so appreciate it, Marc. Thanks again so much for your time. As you said, check out all the great work that the National Urban League is doing, the needed work, folks. We have so much more work to do. So we want to continue to build off of that. Get involved. Put on your calendar. You heard about it, the national conference. And if you can, get down to Morehouse or watch it live stream. Just be a part, as Marc said, of the conversation. All our voices are needed. Marc, thank you so much for your time. We're going to let you get back to your wife, the book, and all the great work that you're doing. That's so important to all of us. So appreciate you joining me live here.
Thank you.
KNN. Thanks so much, Marc. Have a great one. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Another great live stream edition of Listen with KNN. We have a lot more dropping. On my audio edition, I just did a great podcast with Joe Madden. That's going to be dropping on Monday. I promise you're going to check it out. We covered everything from NHL, NBA to, of course, March Madness. Coming up on the live stream show the week after next week, because next week I'm going to Vegas for a great conference. We're going to have Kermit Washington joining us, the former NBA player, and also Fred Mitchell, the longtime Chicago Tribune columnist. So again, we have lots of great guests coming. Don't go anywhere. Also, Washington fans, Chris Baker will be joining us in April. So make sure every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. you are locked in here. A special thanks to my team. It's not just me, my wonderful team that helps me get ready for each and every show and does all the great work behind the scenes. A very special shout out to my producer, Michael, for making today's show run so smoothly. But again, thank you all so much. Continue to please root for my Terps. You know, we need some more good love here in the DMV area, but hope your brackets aren't busted yet. But again, thank you all so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. And I will see you all next week. Have a great one. Bye, guys.
Follow Kelsey on social media at The Real K Nelson. Catch episodes of Listen In with KNN on YouTube, on air at AM 1340 and 96.9 FM, Fox Sports Radio, on Facebook and Twitter, and online at KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Thank you for watching this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN.
Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio now offers official Kelsey Nicole Nelson apparel in a variety of styles for men and women. Fashionable shirts, leggings, hats, jackets, and more. Order now and get 15% off and free shipping. Just enter promo code KNN. Get your Listen In with KNN wearables today. And check out Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio with Kelsey Nicole Nelson.